Hello. Hi, Francisco. Hi, Peter. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you. Welcome to an awesome webinar with one of our very own at ACI and Five Houses staff members, Francisco, and one of our senior teachers, Peter Myrtle. My name is Sarah Blackburn. I am also a part of Five Houses. And today we're going to talk about the upcoming retreat, but also we'll share, or by we, I mean Peter and Francisco, we'll share some of the things that often come up in our lives and in our practice that we can think about and even bring with us to an upcoming retreat in Phoenix. So I will pass the mic now to Francisco, and I hope you enjoy a lovely conversation between two amazing people. Hi, Francisco, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for this lovely introduction. And thank you so much, Peter, for being here with us. It's a big honor to share this space with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Francisco and Sarah. It's a big pleasure to be here. I'm very happy and excited also to talk to you.
Right. And there are like a very few moments in your life where you have the opportunity to be with a senior and long-time practitioner, and you can ask him whatever it is. I have the mic now. So thank you
True.
so much for the opportunity, Peter, again. And we have new students as we started with new five houses, and we want like they also knew the new senior teachers and amazing practitioners that we have along our organizations. And I know that you have been practiced like for more like 25 years, like you have been given some,
2007. I started 2007 with the book, but I've been intense since then, yes.
yeah, almost 20 years, right? So, could you share a little bit about how did you get into the teachings and how your experience was like from being a student to now be a senior teacher with like thousands of students across the world, and that's very low.
Thank you. Thank you, Francisco and Sarah. I told Maria, I don't know, I'm very happy and excited to re-engage with what you guys are doing more again. I think, as you said, by the way, I should look at the translator, otherwise some people will die, which is not a good thing in Buddhism. Yeah, I look at Lena. Hi, Lena. Thank you. Uh, so, and it's actually connected to your question. I think life goes in waves sometimes, not all, sometimes always. And sometimes you are very intensely and closer to one organization or to a practice, and then something else becomes important. And I believe that also I think our biggest role model, Geshe Michael, is a great example for that. He spent a lot of time in the monastery, and then at some point he stepped out of it and started to do his own thing in a very powerful way. And if he had not done that, many of us wouldn't be here. But for me personally, it's difficult to say how it started. In a way, the start is very clear. In April 2007, I got the Diamond Cutter book from my then boss and main owner of the software company I worked for. And at that company, there was always a strong spiritual corporate culture, I would say. So he himself openly said that he practiced the Course of Miracle, and he used very often Jesus as metaphors, but not in a dogmatic way. And he was not so happy about religions. That was a little interesting. And then he told me at some point, which hadn't happened before, that he had found a book that he thought would be great for me, and he asked me if I wanted it in German, German or English. And I said English, and then he sent me the diamond cutter, and then I remember reading it in a shopping mall, in a cafe, in a break. I started to read it. I had studied before, but then I read it, and then it dawned on me what I got. When somewhere in the first third of the book, when the diamond cutter Sutta is being quoted, that your actions create your reality, and that's the cause for everything. I felt like my mind was split open, really in a very powerful way. So that was a very distinct moment, and I feel very lucky because I immediately started to act on it. At that time there was no DCI, there was the old ACI dharma.org, which I didn't know. I didn't. And I called even people who were mentioned in Europe in that book, and they were not interested in talking to me. And then I eventually found the ACI dharma.org homepage, and I started to do the daily practices. So I jumped into meditating twice a day, as much as I could, and my wife thought I went crazy, which I think is correct from her perspective. And then I started to give some small donations, and then at some point someone answered to a donation, which for me was like, Peter from heaven saying hello, something like that. So then I started a conversation with Venerable Chuki, who at that time, for some time, I thought it was Geshe Michael's teacher, because he was also called Lobsang, and I was 100% certain it was a monk, because I didn't know any nuns. And then at some image she said, I'm actually a nun. I'm like, so, and then from there I did, she was so kind, she did weekly phone calls with me for about a year. So every week, half an hour, which turned out to be usually 60 minutes, long half hours. We had a call about ACI topics, and I don't know. It feels like a good addiction, I was really, I felt very intensively I had to catch up. Although at that time I didn't think much about past and future lives, but I felt I had to catch up, and I studied the ACI courses, and I started to meditate like a mad person. And then I asked a couple of times if I could come and visit, and she never allowed me to come to Dharma Mountain until summer 2009. At some point she said, now you can come. I said, when? She said, in 2 weeks. I'm like, okay. So I checked out on the map where Dharma Mountain was difficult, but Arizona, Tucson, I had never been to that part of the world. And then I booked a flight, I went there, I had a rental car, I tried to find and succeeded to find Dharma Mountain. There were no signs at that time. There was the kitchen yurt and the parking place and the bathroom and the temple. And then I spent a week there. I met Geshe-la, and he tested me he tested me a couple of times. He told me 3-4 times to come a meeting, but he was never there until the last day. And then anyway, a couple of other things happened, and then he told me that we're going to do something together. We'll do the DCI. And I didn't know what that meant. It didn't exist. On the way out, I asked Adriana in the kitchen. Some of you guys know that already. I said, excuse me. She said, yes. I'm like, do you know what the DCI is? She said, no. And then I went back, and then in April 2010, the first DCI event in Europe happened when the volcano broke out, so Geshe-la couldn't come actually. So the time when the European air traffic was blocked for the first time since air traffic existed was the weekend when Geshe-la had a DCI event in Europe, and I cried a lot. But then it happened, and then for many years I was very close to Geshe-la. In terms of physical closeness through DCI, he told us to go, basically he said, didn't say don't be a monk, but he said create a partnership. So I planted Maria, And then he told me to go and teach Asia in Kiev, which we did. We're still doing that kind of. And what was the question? See, it's one of my skills. I can talk so much that even the interviewer forgets what he asked me.
Thank you.
But you wrote it down. You're smart.
It was about that. How do you get into that, into this beautiful world of magic? Right? Because I remember, like, with the first time I hear about the pen, and I see, like, this is something, and I don't understand it, but it makes sense. We need to understand it, right? And I try to figure out. I learned from another person, and I
Right.
like, who teach you that? Oh, Geshe
Right.
Michael Roach. And I like looking for information, and then I got the Karma of Love. It was my first
Oh,
book.
good.
Like, oh, does this really works? And it worked.
Exactly.
It worked. And they're like, okay, this is.
Oh my God. Yes, I agree.
But like I feel a difference on my practice. I start like ACI courses and I start doing my meditation. But I remember pretty well the first time I went to Sedona to help producing an event from YSI. I remember pretty, and it was like a very small group of high practitioner, like
You
students
can
from.
say crazy people. It's okay. You don't have to say happy.
Okay, crazy,
In a
crazy.
good way.
And I remember being there with these amazing, crazy people, and I felt like they can't see through me. Like it was very intense experience where I couldn't hide, you know. But at the same time, I feel a lot of love and infinite compassion, and I feel like everything will be okay. And I feel how my heart somehow just crack and open.
Yeah.
And from there, like being with a teacher in person, with practitioners in person, it was like very, very sweet. And it
Mm.
really changed the way I perceive myself and
Mm.
how I
Good.
perceive
Good job.
others. Like it was very, very beautiful. Um, so my question will be like, what do you think is happening when you are in person with, a special presence like this powerful? Like,
Mm.
what happened where you're in front of a teacher?
Pah. Um, I mean, first of all, I think the Zoom calls, what we're doing right now, are both a blessing and a curse. They are like a book is a blessing and a curse as well. You can get stuck, and I don't mean it negative. You can read the books, but the good books will tell you you have to try to meet your teacher. It requires a physical presence, and that I'm if there's anything I'm certain about in my life, I'm certain about that. You need a physical presence. Then the Zoom calls or whatever whatever software you use are better, but they're still not the real thing. You see, it's a little bit like uh, to make it easier to understand. It's a little bit like you had a girlfriend and you only meet her on Zoom. It's pretty good. I mean, it's better than not meeting her, but it's definitely not the real thing. Like, are you kidding me? It's nearly a little bit like looking at food through a Zoom call. That's good, but it won't really do it for you. Maybe it's not that great an example, but it's good to exaggerate. So what happens when you meet them is, I think, a couple of things. One very, very important thing, which I think as a student, it's very easy to underestimate, and it's not always on the top of our mind, and that is you give your teacher the possibility to see you. You see, and if they are bodhisattva, they are very interested in you. Now they're not interested in you the way we are usually interested in people. Like they're not like they don't want your money or they don't want something from you in the way we usually think about relationships. But in Geshe-la's case, for me, there's an immediate process that begins. He gets you closer to your ultimate goal, even when you don't know what that is at all. You don't have to. That's not required. And I think we forget that, very often when I'm thinking, I can't talk about it so beautiful because I have the problem as well. When I'm thinking about going to Sedona and to meet Geshe or JV and Connie, etc., then I'm thinking very often from my perspective, what do I want? Do I have the money? Do I have the time? Blah, blah. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's correct. I mean, you have to think like that. But sometimes you could also think that you are allowing an enlightened being or someone who's very close to that to see you, and you don't know what that will do with you. You see? Because, and now I understand that better because we have so many students. We do Zoom calls like that, and I don't, I'm saying, please put the camera on. Like there's a reason. I want to see them. I want to at least have I'm not so good with names, at least I want to have a feeling how they react when I speak. You pretty quickly get a feeling of what kind of projects, karmas they would need in order to improve, you see. And if you don't go there physically, that will never happen. Now, again, the problem with that is you won't miss it because you don't know the difference. But that does not mean it's not a problem. You see?
It's and it happens to me like whenever I'm in a person event with Kesla or Conila or JV. And I have this question in my mind, like going around, like, how can I ask this? And I have this question, this doubt, and he just answer it like at that moment. I said like, wow, this is like something is happening for sure that you cannot like easily express.
Well, that's a compliment to you, right? I mean, and that's in scripture. If you're a good practitioner and you have a lot of devotion for your teacher and they teach a public class, it will feel to you that everything is just focused on you, which sometimes can feel very uncomfortable.
It does.
Because
It happens.
Don't do that. How does he know?
Right. Last time, guys, let's start talking about fasting. So here I am fasting.
Only
now.
for you, Francisco. I'm certain. No one else in the world has that talent.
Right. Nobody else hear that teaching but me. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, but and you feel how your body change. Like you can like if you're like subtle and you do like yoga and kind of
even if you're not subtle. I'm telling you, stand the rough things will happen to you. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Right, it happens, and but the real challenge for I think everyone that wants to be near to a teacher is like you have a lot of obstacles in order to accomplish this important step on your spiritual path. For me, that's like something you must do even one time in your life. And like family visas, money, like permission, like there's a lot of obstacles around to go to your teacher.
Yes.
And how can you balance, how can you like move these obstacles, like
Did you pick me specifically for this question, Sarah? I'm pretty sure you were checking my past and saying, let us Peter that. That's like a Lamrim moment here before. Because I have a couple of famous trips, but one of my most famous trips, which I told some of our students, was when I very quickly after I met my teacher was invited to participate at the Wang, at the empowerment, which I thought was much too early. My Lama said, shut up, it's not your decision. I said, okay, I'm coming. So then I mean, she's super sweet being. So then I live in Stockholm, and I remember it was in November, I think. And this is about trips and obstacles to getting to a teacher. Okay, that's the story, just to put it in perspective. So in the morning, I went with my daughter Vera with a flight from Stockholm to Malmö. We're sitting in the plane. It snows so heavily. The plane is delayed 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Then we get off. I'm like, whew, thank God, because my flight to the US then was scheduled from Copenhagen. next day. Go to Malmö, deliver the daughter, do my business thing, go home, very happy. Next day in the morning is my flight to Phoenix. In the evening at 8 o'clock, 8:15, I check my email one last time, and there's just a message from the airline, your flight tomorrow is cancelled. Full stop. No, I don't know. No, try this, excuse me, do that, something like your flight. I'm like, are you kidding me? So then it took me 2-3 hours to book another flight from Copenhagen to London the next day in the morning. I am relieved. I'm so happy. Go to the airport next day in the morning, fly. Then I realized, oh, it's actually another airport. In London there are a couple of airports, and I went to London City. I didn't even know that airport existed. So there's one small airport in the city. It's very beautiful if you're not stressed out about things. You're landing close to the Thames, and then I took the underground to Heathrow. Realize it's getting tight, but running, sweating, everything I can. I get to the ticket counter. He's like, you're late. I said, I know, but he said, no problem. I'll get you in. I'm like, whew. Luggage in, I get the tickets. I walk to the check, and I remember her. There's a tall, big black woman. She looks at my tickets and throws them back at me, which has never happened before after she said, you're too late. I'm not letting you in. I'm like, 100 meters over there, the guy just told me, he took my luggage, he said, I'm good, what's up? And she was furious. And no, it's karma's ripening. It's you're purifying. You cannot imagine you're purifying. I'm trying to answer the balancing question with that. So then I had a breakdown because they didn't take me on the flight. And then there was a queue of 2-3 hours for people who were not been put on that and other flights, because it started to snow in London, which is not happening often. And they only had 1 or 2 planes to get the wings clean. So then I called my Lama, crying. I said, Chuki, I'm trying to. And she's like, relax, it's your inner body. I'm like, what? She said, no, the snow, everything, it's your channels, you're just purifying. Relax. I'm like, how can I relax? She said, what else are you gonna do? That's my answer, Francisco, you see. Like I cannot promise you won't go through hell. You maybe will if you're in a good spot. But what you're gonna not go? Like, so anyway, then I queue those 3 hours with emotional breakdowns, heart opening, crying. I get to the lady who is from India. I come first person. She doesn't look at me. When I put my tickets and my passport on that little table, she looks at her clock and says, oh, it's time for lunch. I think I'll take a break. She stands up. And I'm like, just, it was unbelievable. Then she looked at me and said, oh, maybe not. And she sat down and she said, where do you want to go? I said, to the US. She said, where? I don't care. Just get me over. I mean, I need to go to Tucson, but she said, okay, I can get you to Chicago. I said, great. So then I'm happy, again, wrong view. You think you get a ticket, someone booked you on something, you think you go anywhere. You don't go anywhere ever, seat shift. So we go to that plane. Everyone is happy. I'm in that plane to Chicago. Then the pilot, after an hour waiting, he says, we have a little problem. The wing defrosting guys, they had a problem and we need to wait a little longer, but all good. Good, 2 hours. The pilot says, it might take another hour, and if it takes more than 3.5 hours until we take off, unfortunately the crew has to shift because there's some regulation that they cannot be on the plane too long, and then it might take a little bit longer. We don't know what will happen then actually. And that broke me so much that I just did mantras. I was just like, okay, what the heck? I mean, obviously my outer attempts to do what I'm trying to do have been so convincingly failing that even a complete idiot can realize maybe it comes from you, And I started to try to 2 meditation months. And then 10 minutes before that deadline, we took off, actually. So there was no shift of things. And I got to Chicago. I was never so happy to get to Chicago. I, anyway, and then eventually I came to Tucson and to Diamond Mountain, but I was broken. When I arrived there, I was like, I don't know, like exhausted, emotionally done, you know. So sorry for not cheering you up, guys. I also think if you are smart, you recognize that you are shedding bad seeds of lifetimes in ways nothing else would do for you. That mostly doesn't help you when you're in it because you're just trying to survive and let the water be so you can still breathe with the nose a little bit. But in retrospect, that is what the Lama does for you also in ways, you see. So yes, it's hard. And if it's hard, it's a good sign. Long answer.
Thank you so much for sharing this lovely story. As you mentioned, like we tend to forget like where things are coming from, and more in the airports.
Yeah.
Haven't tell us there. And I remember like the first time I went to Diamond Mountain as well. It was like they moved our flight to another city, and then we lost connection, and everything happens in that moment. And I think it's a beautiful test, right? As you mentioned, like what you're going to do next.
Look at, I don't want to be too negative, but in the ACI context, it's good. Like when our student, because we have the same, we do events in Vienna, in Poland, in Turkey, and people come and they're like, and I usually, when I see that, I just give them a hug. He said, you know what happened? I said, relax. Then I say, I know. I don't know exactly what happened because I don't need to, but I know they went through stuff. And I think, imagine I wouldn't go through what I'm going through, I wouldn't understand what our students do. It's not, because it's unexplainable. If you tell another person who's not doing that, they're like, wow, you got really, really unlucky. I said, no, it's not what's happening. So,
Right. It happens to me when I come back, even back to Mexico.
yeah.
The plane was delayed, and then the customs run out. So we stay on the airplane like for 5 hours, like just sitting there without air conditioner. Like, like beautiful moment with yourself.
I mean, if you can, let's give some constructive advice. If you can and do what I finally did after 48 hours, like do some practice. Like if you can just think one thought at that moment, may everyone, not just me, you want to go where you want to go, that's okay. But think, may everyone's path be smooth and easy. May everyone be able to get physically where they want to go, but also spiritually, emotionally. May everyone be able to meet their teacher. If you can have one, even just a fragment of such a thought, I think it's helpful.
It's very powerful. Thank you.
Mm.
And the
I
other
cheer on you, whoever is listening and going through it,
Yeah, and we will talk about ACI. How can we help you to go through the events in person? So we'll talk at the end of that because we want you there. It's important for us to be there. But the other thing that happens when you go in a person event, and this is one of the most harder things for me, is like when you need to say goodbye to your lama, to your teacher, to everyone. It's like, I don't want to go. Like, it's so easy to be a good person here. And then you need to come back, right? And you have like this new assignment because usually when you're there, like you have with a ton of things to do next. And like how can you be away from your teacher and do your things after this movement in your body?
Boy, I have another story which is also brutal, but I shared quickly. So the first DCI 7 is about touching the diamond world, which is an ACI language, is about seeing emptiness directly. And there was, when that was presented for the first time in Kiev, Maria and I were there as teachers. And then we're flying back. And the event was pretty, I mean, was about to say pretty smooth, but there were no problems happening that didn't break me, let's put it like that. So then we go to the airport, and Kiev is a pilgrimage airport for a lot of traditional Jews. So there's sometimes masses of, I don't know how you call it in English actually, with the heads and the whole thing. And and we come there, and there are hundreds there, and they're all on the check-in for our check-in. So I'm saying, good seat. Let's wait until they check in, and we go a little later so we don't create more queues. Orthodox Jewish, thank you, Uta. Hi, Uta, by the way, good to see you. So then we have a sandwich, we drink something, we say goodbye to our friends. Then about an hour later, still in time, we go there, and we finally come to the check-in. And then the guy said, "You are being taken off from your flight." I'm like, what? We had a boarding, we had a valid ticket and everything, and Kiev, Austria, Vienna is not such a big thing. And they said the flight is overbooked, and because you came later, we took you off the flight. So good luck. I'm like, it's another one of those moments. Are you serious? This has never happened to me ever. And he said, "Yeah, I'm sorry. If you want to, we can put you on the waiting list." I said, "Yes." Now, at that time, I started to get sick. Like sometimes you get a flu and it's fast. You get fever, coughing, and I start to get fever. I start to get headaches. And we go down through the check-in to wait at the gate. Maybe the place. And there's a lady there, and she says, "Oh, you're on the waiting list." I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, there's one more person. If that person doesn't show up, then you both can go." And I'm like, I can't stand. I'm sitting because I've, fever and headaches and everything. And then listen to this. It's a true story. I swear to God, it's not made up. Then she announces. She says, Mr. Diamond, please come to gate so and so. The flight is departing." I'm like, we just did the touch the diamond world thing, right? And then the guy comes a little bit rounder, little like Hector, beard, black head, and says, and he speaks German, also Jewish is a little bit German. Said, "Ich bin der Herr Diamant." And part of my mind was like, didn't you just do a whole weekend about diamonds and touching the diamond world? Didn't you get a diamond from Geshe Michael to remember the direct perception? And so we missed the flight, And again, my inner body reacts very strongly, so I get breakdowns. My merinos, I cry. I don't know what to do. So then we went to the restaurant, and I decided to do a counter thing, So there was a waitress. I asked her about her, and she said, "Well, I studied IT, but I have a child, I'm waitressing." And then at the end of the thing, we gave her $100 tip. And she started to cry. She said, "That's too much." I said, I don't think that's your decision. And she said, "No, but I said, use it for a boy and so on." And that changed for me that whole situation. You see, so now I remember the Mr. Diamond, and I remember I gave $100 to someone for who that was really a lot of money at that time. But coming back to the general advice, I have two. Number one, don't think the event is over until you're home in bed. It's not. And even then, 1, 2, 3 days, it's like the event is like an earthquake or a volcano outbreak, kind of in a good way, and then the ripples time-wise, and you are not done until you are home. And even then, that's my second advice. which I'm trying to follow, usually you get what I call a Dharma hangover, where you, like when you start teaching, it's massive. You literally get headaches, but chronically, you just need a couple of days, sometimes a week, sometimes more, to recover from the life energy that just went through you with your teacher and with whoever you met. And again, when you become aware of that, you can react to it differently. If you're not aware of it, you're like a blind person trying to cross a highway and the car will hit you. But if you're aware of it, you can wait until the cars go by and then run over quickly. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's beautiful. And I remember the first time I come back from an in-person event, like people were asking me like, what did you do? What happened to you? Like, and I was, checking in the mirror, like nothing, I'm the same. And they were like, no, you did something with you. And you realize that people see you different when you're with the Lama. And it's very beautiful. It's very powerful because it invites you to keep growing, to keep being better. Like, that you have the opportunity to help them and they can notice. And it's very, very inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing this beautiful.
Just telling you old stories.
Beautiful old stories. One more thing, something funny that has happened to you in an in-person event, like say, like this is out of the track.
Well, I don't know, there were many more, but one moment that was, which really, and it's so precious in a way because no one else could really see it. We were in China on a DCI tour. Yeah, must be DCI. And Geshe was doing playing the sitar as an opener, and I carried the sitar down. And it was a theater, and there were, I don't know, China is usually so big, but I'm sure it was 1,000, I think it was 3,000 people. So the whole thing was full. They already announced him, he's on the way out, and there's a little weird, small staircase which goes down and then to the corner, and then you're on stage. I go with the sitar, I think. The guy behind me had Geshe-la's rucksack, and Geshe-la is in front of me. And as I go with the sitar around that corner, a zipper of the rucksacks hooked into one of the, how do they call that, the things you play on, how do you call it? Strings of the sitar? Yeah, string, exactly, yeah. So that, it's impossible. If you try to do that, you will never succeed. But I turned, the rucksack turned, and the little ring where the zipper holder is hooked into the sitar, so if I make another step or the guy moves the rucksack, the sitar is broken. And I'm like, stop! And Geshe turns around and the rucksack guy freezes, and we three all freeze in this tiny little space in front of 3,000 people who don't see us yet. Everyone is waiting and we are desperately trying to get the rucksack detached from the string. And finally Geshe makes it. I was sweating. I was like, and then he goes out. I give him the sitar. I nearly had a heart attack after that. It was incredible. And the rucksack, who was the rucksack? I don't know. We were like, and then later we said, Geshe, what was that? He said, there are very specific demons before you teach who try to screw you up. And again, how does that help? I don't know that. If you get into teachings, it's just, it won't help you much now, but when you start to teach ACI or anything, things will happen to you which could freak you out. Like with Maria, when we co-teach, usually 5 minutes, 10 minutes before we go into a teachings online, it's very easy to get upset with each other for some stupid reason. A coffee spill, some little thing which is super frustrating. The tie, you just put the tie on it, and you take it off, put another one on. You disagree on the schedule, which you agree to go on for 2 weeks, and you need to just Bring your mind back to the present moment. Remember why you're doing that. You want to be popular? This is not, do something else. I don't know what, but this is not that. If you want to help people, it doesn't matter much what happens. Just move on. You see. So, but that, I'll never forget that.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this, Peter. It was very beautiful. And if you would like to ask questions to a teacher, the best way to do it is in an in-person event, because you can sit with them in the lunch and they cannot move. So I encourage you to come to the events, and ACI is trying to do the best for helping you to come to Phoenix, to Kyoto, to Diamond Mountain. Please contact any ACI staff member, and they will be very, very happy to help you out, to be with us. We will be on Phoenix from October 24 to 28. We will be having 5 days of teachings, 2 classes per day with Geshe directly. This is not happening anymore so often, so we encourage you to come, and we have a lot of teachers like Peter and Maria will be there. So we invite you to come with us and see how can we help you to come to the event, right? And if you cannot do it for this one, like Phoenix is, Kyoto is in December as well, from December 11. So please let us know how can we help you. And again, Peter, thank you so much for your time. I know it's very, very valuable. I really appreciate it to share with us.
Sure. Thank you, Francisco. I really enjoyed it. It makes me remember the old stories and retrying them. Because if you don't ask me, I don't think about it, of course. And, you know, it, if any one of our students is listening, if you're not coming to see Geshe, you're crazy. I don't know. I cannot say that to people who don't know me because it would be too impolite. But to the ones who know me, I can say that. It's our usual mind is blocking us because of money and time. That's the only reasons why you wouldn't come. You say, I don't have enough money, I don't have time. And my experience is that very often the goodness of trying to meet your teacher creates money in unexpected ways. I went to retreats, to one Lerong specifically, where I had zero money. I had $100 left for Maria and me. I didn't even tell her. I went to a 30-day retreat, we came out, and people gave us a total of $10,000 in cash in the first 2-3 days after the Lerong. And before the retreat, I was really worried. But something told me, just do the karma, do the right thing, and then things will get solved. And I swear to God, no one that I ever know a month later remembers the money problem they had before a retreat. That goes away. It doesn't mean go blindly. That's not what I'm saying. You gotta find a solution and solve it, but you will never regret choosing coming to a Dharma event. And the same with time. If you come to a place like this for a couple of days and you realize that something you wanted to do before in your life is not the right thing to do, it saves you a decade. It's like, if your priority shift, you suddenly get, if you haven't been there, unfortunately, you kind of have to believe what I'm saying. But I tell you, this has happened for me for sure. So come. There's no reason why I wouldn't, really. Sorry for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yes, please come only once in your lifetime. We are not asking to all events, only come once, please.
Be brave, Francisco. Prefer say come to all of them.
Yeah, if you can, you should come to all of them. That's for sure. And you know what? We are like preparing for the Diamond Way as well. And the first teaching from Geshe was, you need to go where the teachings are. That was the first thing that Tesla told us in these Dare to the Diamond Way teachings. So we encourage you to plant the seeds and to talk with us. How can we help you to go? So thank you so much, Peter. Thank you so much, Sarah, again, for giving us this space.
Thank you for the opportunity. Bye.
Bye.
Yes, and thank you, Francisco. Again, thanks to Peter and everyone for being here to experience this really sweet conversation. It's so nice to hear your stories and your experience. And again, we'll put the QR code up for you to check out Phoenix. We'd love to see you in person, but just know there's also opportunities to join online. And then there's more in-person opportunities to come. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thanks, everybody, and we hope to see you soon. Bye.